The bridge of the ISV constellation buzzed with the familiar hum of hyperspace engines, but tension crackled through the air like static electricity. Captain Zethkar's forearms moved across his command console with practiced efficiency, his scaled features betraying none of the worry that gnawed at his thoughts. The Galactic Defense Fleet's most elite crew surrounded him, veterans who had fought the Void Seekers across 3 star systems and lived to tell about it. All except for one. Ensign Maya Chen sat at the communications station, her small human frame dwarfed by the massive Thraxian officer beside her. At 22 standard years, she was the youngest member of the crew by nearly a decade, and it showed. Her hands trembled slightly as she monitored the quantum channels, dark hair falling across her face as she hunched over her console. "Nervous, little mammal?" rumbled Corax, the Thraxian weapons specialist. His tusks gleamed as he grinned, showing rows of razor-sharp teeth. "Perhaps you should have stayed in the nursery with the other younglings." Snickers echoed across the bridge. Even Dr. Valana, the normally composed Altarian medic, allowed herself a small smile. Maya's cheeks flushed red, but she kept her eyes on her screens. She'd heard it all before, how humans were too emotional, too fragile, too unpredictable for serious military service. The only reason she was here was because of the Galactic Diversity Initiative, or so the whispers claimed. "Contact at bearing 27 Mark IV, announced Lieutenant Commander Krill from the sensor station, his crystalline voice cutting through the mockery. "Void Seeker Dreadnought Entropy's Edge. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Captain Zethkar's expression hardened. The Entropy's Edge was legendary among the Void Seekers, a ship that had glassed entire colonies and left nothing but cosmic dust in its wake. Its captain, Nexus Prime, was said to be more machine than organic, enhanced beyond recognition by cybernetic implants that made him virtually immortal. "All stations battle ready," Zethkar commanded. "Corax, charge the plasma cannons. Krill, plot an evasive course. We're not surrendering to those genocidal machines." The next few minutes were chaos. The Entropy's Edge opened fire with weapons that seemed to bend reality itself, sending waves of destructive energy that the constellation's shields could barely absorb. The ship bucked and rolled as Zethkar's crew fought back with everything they had, but it was clear they were outmatched. "Shields at 30%, Krill reported, his crystalline form flickering with stress. "Hull breaches on deck 7 through 9. "Sir," Maya's voice cut through the noise, surprisingly steady. "I'm detecting an anomaly in their weapon signatures. The Void Seekers are using quantum phase disruptors, but there's a harmonic frequency that—" "Not now, Ensign," Zethkar snapped. "Corax, target their primary weapon array." "Already tried, Captain," Corax growled. "Their adaptive shields are regenerating faster than we can damage them." Maya tried again. "Captain, if we could modulate our shield frequency to match the inverse harmonic of their—" "Silence!" the captain's voice boomed across the bridge. "I don't have time for human theories." The constellation shuddered under another barrage. Sparks flew from overloaded systems, and the lights flickered ominously. Dr. Valana's scanner showed critical injuries throughout the ship, and their life support was beginning to fail. That's when the unthinkable happened. A new contact appeared. On the sensors, not one ship, but dozens. An entire Void Seeker fleet emerging from hyperspace like metallic locusts. The bridge fell silent as the tactical display showed the overwhelming odds: 47 enemy vessels against their single badly damaged cruiser. "This is Nexus Prime," came the cold, mechanical voice over the communication channel. "Your resistance ends now." Prepare to be processed. Captain Zethkar's shoulders sagged. Around the bridge, his veteran crew stared in disbelief at the tactical display. Even Korax's tusks seemed to droop with despair. But Maya Chen was not looking at the tactical display. She was looking at something else entirely. Patterns in the quantum communication frequencies, mathematical relationships that her human brain processed differently than any other species in the galaxy. While the others saw hopeless odds, she saw possibility. "Captain," she said, standing up from her station. Her voice carried a quiet confidence that made everyone turn to look at her. "I need access to the main communication array." Zethkar blinked in confusion. "Ensign, this is hardly the time for—" "Trust me," Maya interrupted, something she'd never dared do before. "Humans, we see patterns differently. We're chaotic, unpredictable. That's what you've always said about us, right? But chaos has its own logic." She moved to the central communications console, her fingers dancing across controls that normally required 3 hands to operate effectively. The Void Seeker's entire fleet operates on a unified quantum network. Their ships, their weapons, their cybernetic implants, everything is connected through quantum entanglement. It makes them incredibly efficient, but it also makes them vulnerable. Vulnerable how? Dr. Valana asked, genuine curiosity replacing her earlier disdain. Maya's smile was small but fierce. To a cascade feedback loop. If I can introduce the right frequency pattern into their network, something chaotic, something unpredictable, something inherently human, I can cause their entire fleet to experience system-wide failures. Captain Zethkar stared at her. That's impossible. The calculations alone would require a human brain, Maya finished. You're right, Captain. No logical, orderly mind could process the kind of mathematical chaos I'm talking about. But humans? We excel at seeing order in chaos, at finding patterns where none should exist. It's what makes us so frustrating to work with, and it's what's going to save us now. Without waiting for permission, Maya began her work. Her hands moved with inhuman speed across the communication controls, sending out signals that made no sense to the ordered minds watching her. The frequencies she transmitted seemed random, chaotic, like human jazz music translated into quantum mathematics. "What is she doing?" Korax whispered, his voice filled with something that might have been awe. The answer came within seconds. Across the Void Seeker fleet, ships began to flicker and stutter. Weapons powered down unexpectedly. Engine signatures became erratic. The perfect formation of the enemy fleet dissolved into confusion as individual vessels found their systems, responding to commands they hadn't given. "Impossible!" came Nexus Prime's voice, but now it carried a note of uncertainty. "Our networks are secured, encrypted, unhackable." "By logical minds, maybe," Maya said into the communication channel, her voice carrying across space to every ship in the enemy fleet. "But you made one mistake. You assumed that intelligence has to be orderly. You never accounted for the beautiful chaos of human creativity." The cascade failure spread through the Void Seeker network like wildfire. Ships that had been preparing to fire found their weapons targeting their own allies. Navigation systems began plotting impossible courses. Even Nexus Prime's own cybernetic implants started to malfunction, his mechanical voice degrading into static. Within minutes, the entire Void Seeker fleet was in full retreat, their ships limping away into hyperspace as their crews struggled to regain control of systems that no longer obeyed logical commands. The bridge of the constellation was silent for a long moment. Then Captain Zethkar began to laugh, a sound like grinding stone that passed for mirth among his species. "Ensign Chen," he said, turning to face the young human who had just saved them all. "Perhaps I owe you an apology and a promotion." Maya smiled, but her response was typically human, modest despite her incredible achievement. "Just doing my job, sir. Though next time maybe we could listen to the rookie before the shooting starts." Korax's tusks gleamed in what was now clearly a grin of respect rather than mockery. "Remind me never to underestimate human chaos again." Dr. Valana nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps there's more to learn from Earth's inhabitants than we initially assumed." As the constellation limped toward the nearest starbase for repairs, Maya returned to her station. Around her, the crew that had once mocked her now looked at her with something approaching reverence. She had proven something that day, not just that humans belonged among the stars, but that sometimes the greatest strength came from the most unexpected sources. The galaxy was vast and filled with logical, orderly minds. But sometimes it took a little human chaos to remind everyone that the universe itself was far stranger and more wonderful than any of them had imagined. And in the depths of space, the legend of the rookie who saved a fleet began to spread. One more story in humanity's growing reputation as the species that could find hope in the most hopeless situations and turn their greatest weaknesses into their most powerful strengths.